I think. What's up, you guys? Let me check this out. I've got my laptop down here instead of my usual suspect computer because too many buttons. Guys, hi. It's me. Here we go. Ashley Stewart and Dale, Cessna, Cheryl Short on YouTube and locals. And then Erica Black is #1 on the Facebook. So things are popping, ladies and gentlemen. And now I can see your comments. Let me just close a box or two here because it gets... Phillips here and Lisa Percy and Marcia Roll Koopman. Melly Mel. It's been a minute, Melly Mel. Hello, Marilyn. Sarah Mitchell on YouTube. Bo K on locals and Rachel Hoke. And Lisa P. Look at this. Everybody's here. Lori Pingle says, hey, I always miss this. Always putting kids to bed now. Sorry, man. East Coast is the least coast as far as I'm concerned. No idea what I just did. I took that bicycle story that I told you guys from my Napa trip, and I was like, I'm curious. I'm going to get it captioned and put it on the main page to see what the response is. And immediately, one of the top comments is, you curse too much. Welcome to the main page. I love that the main page is a wretched hive of scum and villainy, and yet they complain when I curse. It's like, bitch, of course I curse. I'm a doctor. That's what we do. Everybody in healthcare curses. They just don't admit it publicly or do it publicly, nor should they. And yet here I am. What do I want to tell you guys? There's so much. Let's read some comments first, though. Whoa, that's a long one. Kalisas blah, 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 blah says, thank you for breaking down all the facts and misconceptions, Doc. Yeah, so I'm actually, this Johnson & Johnson AstraZeneca thing. Boy, Jay Body was on the show yesterday talking about this. Was the right answer to pause the administration of it, or was it to continue administering but give patients the information? I don't know. I'm kind of with Jay on this. I think you tell people, here's the risk. It's 1 in X hundreds of thousands. And really say, well, talk to your doc. If you're a younger person, young female, maybe you want to wait and get the mRNA vaccines, that sort of thing, But yeah, it's crazy. I hear this weird boom, 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 boom resonance in here since I moved a couple panels around. Logan, I forgot to tell you I'm going live, Logan. Sorry, you're probably not watching. Let me tell him. I have to fix that later. Yeet, live now. All right. Back to what I was talking about. I'm not sure pausing it does a lot of good in terms of vaccine hesitancy, because once you pause a vaccine and then they start again, are you really comfortable taking that vaccine? I'm not sure. Why are they pausing it? You have data on 6 million people and you have 6 or 7 cases. I think there's now maybe an 8th. So that it's probably, maybe there's something that we're not privy to. But there's probably something that it's very similar to the AstraZeneca case, where it's these DNA adenovirus vectors that do this very rarely. And by very rarely, I mean struck by lightning rarely, like kind of rare. So you have to weigh risk and benefit, like we talked about on the show. So hopefully the public, I feel like we ought to give the public the benefit of the doubt and just give them information in a simple and well-framed way, like in a nice little portrait. Here's the information. Here's how you can think about it and understand your own risk. By the way, I got to say this, let's read some comments and I'll go into this. Cindy Bernard, my hubby's an ER doc and never curses. When a patient complains that he's cussed at them, all the nurses know that person is lying. No one has ever heard him swear ever. My wife doesn't swear either. So, and she's a doctor. So there's that. So I guess my one size fits all ascertainment is incorrect. My Happy Gecko on local says, I got Moderna and within 2 weeks went to the ER for leg pain, feeling faint, having trouble breathing. I had a high D dimer, which seems so weird. And I wonder if the vaccine can cause a high D dimer. Well, 2 weeks later, man, that's just strange. I think, by the way, anything can cause a high D dimer. Like, you look at you funny, your D dimer will go up. So not sure what to make of that, My Happy Gecko. Linda Chatfield on local says, Now they say Pfizer will need a booster, third shot. I don't know who's saying that, Linda, but they can fuck off. Sorry. What do they mean need a booster? So we really gotta dig into that a little bit. Need a booster. So does that mean that it's not going to work anymore if you don't get a booster? Or are they talking about variants? Hold on, I'm gonna fix my chair because it's bugging. There we go. Now I can't recline because I keep wanting to recline out of the focus plane. If they're talking about variants and all that, well, yeah, you can get a booster in a year. Who cares? Honestly, and Jay and I were talking about this on the show yesterday, it's not even clear that you'll need a booster because there may be enough immunity that you avoid severe disease and hospitalization. And who cares if you get COVID as a cold? It just doesn't matter, especially if the majority of people are vaccinated or naturally infected at that point. Yes, please, on Local says, I'm 25 and I'm close to being called to get a vaccine. Well, you're not, if you're in the US, you're not going to be offered the Johnson & Johnson, I don't think, because it's, what the heck happened to my YouTube stream here? It's been paused. Did I just cancel YouTube? What the hell, dude? Hold on. Let me go back to Facebook while YouTube sorts itself out. No, there's YouTube. Why are there 240 concurrent viewers on YouTube? Is it God damn it. I made it public. You guys got to understand. So this is a supporter-only show. I have it supporter-only on Facebook. For some reason, I went full public on the YouTube version because I clicked the wrong box because there's 14 different boxes to click. It's like an EHR. No wonder there's all these random people I've never seen before asking questions. Well, how do I do this? Let me see what I can do here. Edit, live chat. I mean, not that I don't love the public, but my supporters kind of support the show. So, all right. Now it's unlisted. So that means that people who are watching on YouTube who are not supporters get a free supporter show and get to see what we do. But new people won't be pulled in, hopefully. And if they are, I will make it private. And I upload it to Locals anyways. So there you go. All right. Back to you guys. Refund, says Diana on Facebook. Vicky Irwin Wilson. What's up, Doc Vicky? 2 patients today told me they are waiting for Johnson & Johnson to no longer be paused to get vaccinated. Those are good, smart people who've made a risk ascertainment for them, and they want a single dose vaccine. That just makes sense, right? That's what they want. Let's look at YouTube, and I'll just pick on supporters here. Oh, no, it's public, says Joe Jr. 93. I know, right? Screwed that one up. Zoe McKelvey says, it's okay. All right. The speed's still going. Dog Mom 60 says, freebies. And Joy M says, thank you for being a real person and not giving a shit about being extremely tactful. Yeah, I don't give a shit or 2 fucks about it. But I'm also, cognizant of when it is important to mind your P's and fucks. Because if you're trying to make a video where you're trying to teach the world about something, I learned this the hard way. If you start throwing a bunch of F-bombs in it, first of all, people either trust their doctor more when they do that or they trust them less. And the second thing is they're not going to want to share it because they're worried grandma's going to see it or something. And so what I found is I do the clean versions, usually for the public stuff, and then the unclean versions for supporters. And I put out the unclean version of that bike story that I did for supporters to the public because I'm interested in how that goes. Because I'm just curious. So I'm going to find out. Hey, Nick Maynard says something nice. I support you by watching and liking your videos. I don't know how else to support. Well, that's really all I need, Nick. But when I talk about supporters, I mean they subscribe. So they pay like $5 a month and then they get private videos like this is supposed to be. And that's how we support the show so that I don't have to sell out to big anything except for big you. But what you do, watching and liking, is so important to me that I consider you a supporter. So don't get me wrong. I'm not trying to get your money. I just do specific shows for the tribe that actually has skin in the game by paying and supporting all the equipment and everything that we use to run this thing. Don Grazik on Facebook says, is this new lighting? You look younger today. That's because I am younger today, Don. I'm Benjamin Bouton. I age backwards. No new lighting. I'm just jazzed up. Today I did a talk. for a company that does wellness stuff for large companies, the self-insured companies, and it's called Virgin Pulse. It's actually founded by Richard Branson, and it was such an enjoyable experience to be able to improv a talk for people that pull the levers of healthcare, because big companies actually are covering their employees, and they can make a difference in how you build Health 3.0 because they're paying for it. So they have more skin in the game than anyone. And so either you can single payer the whole thing and socialize it, or you can say, okay, companies, you're paying for it anyways, for half of it at least. The government's paying for the other half. Why don't you start investing in things that will transform healthcare to a rehumanized, relationship-based, technology-enabled, team-driven human enterprise that it should be, that focuses on prevention and mental health and mindfulness and all these wonderful holistic things that we ought to be doing, but we don't do. Dogmom60 on YouTube says, I totally related to that bike story. I myself went off the handle earlier this week and realized shortly after what an ass I can be. The story was refreshing. You know, I'm telling you, dude, like that was an insight that was hard won for me. And for YouTubers, you got to go to Facebook to see this. I posted it there. It's just a story of like how something like a bike flat tire can throw you into a thought loop of just anger and misery and suffering. And when you watch your mind and you actually unwind the thought loop and see what's underneath it, liberation is underneath it. And that's what I learned. And I was hoping for responses like yours, Dogmom60, because it's a universal human truth, but we're so blind and unconscious in most of our behavior that we just act like robots sometimes and just get in these thought loops. Blue Moon Cafe loves it when I go off the rails. Watch Instagram Live if you ever want to see me go off the rails. Every time I do an Instagram Live, I lose my shit. Like I just go insane. It's just crazy. Matthew Bastarache on Facebook sent me 1,000 stars. So on Facebook, you can send stars. It's like a penny a star that I get. Facebook takes a cut, so you have to pay more, but I really appreciate it. Hey, you missed my comment last time. So just wanted to say again that I've suffered a lot of medical issues this last year on the climb up now, but during the hard times, your shows kept me from giving up. And I just wanted you to know that you helped save me indirectly. Also, from watching your videos on consciousness, I just wanted your opinion on the birth of consciousness in identical twins. I am one. And the existential thought, it makes my head spin. The existential thought of it makes my head spin. The science explains it best, but it can, but rather, does consciousness have any say in it happening in the first place? I wonder. Matthew Bastarache. Okay, first of all, Matthew, your kind words about my effect on your life are taken right here. So thank you. That means so much to me. I get so much hate on a daily basis. It's easy to focus on that because we have a negativity bias. But when someone says something like what you say, it lights me up from the inside. It really does. It really does. It makes me connect to the authentic purpose that I think I'm here to do. So thank you, brother. Now, your question about identical twins. All right. Are you the same as your twin? Do you think the same as your twin? Do you share that same conscious awareness as the twin in terms of like your experience? Are you the same person? And I'm going to suspect the answer is no. Why do twins happen? Well, in the unfolding of how the egg splits and so on, identical twins, you're genetically the same. You share similar cytoplasm from the egg. You share the womb. And that's where the similarities end. You do share an upbringing, but not quite, because you're different people. The way I think of this is because I believe that consciousness is fundamental. In other words, everything arises from consciousness. All of this is just a symbol communication of consciousness interacting with itself. So in the end, we're all the same. We're all an identical twin of one, right? That's having this dream of separation and interacting back with itself. And that can sound spooky and spiritual and all that, because it is. But check out the interviews that I've done with scientists who believe this is true, and they have theories on why. So as an identical twin, what I suspect is happening with you is, and again, I am speculating, is these are just like any birth, two fragments of the unitary consciousness unfolding in their own incredibly unique and yet strangely one way. And so, yeah, it should blow your mind, but it should also just fill you with awe, wonder, joy, hope, and this sense of elevation. Like, my gosh, life is the most amazing thing. It's just the most amazing thing. And yet we deny living truth in any moment. We deny the present moment. We push it away. We argue with it. We resist it. We project into the future and we relive the past. And all of it happens now. But if we open to the present moment, which was what I described in the biking video, and when I sat in that steam shower and I was processing all this anger and shame and misery from a freaking flat tire, I was gifted with present moment awareness, because that's what you do when it's 120 degrees and you're sweating and you're trying to meditate and so on. And in that present moment is where you find freedom, because it is as it is. It can be no other way. You accept it, you surrender to it, and there's no problem in that present moment that you don't imagine or generate a thought that seems to embody a problem, when in fact it's just a thought floating in the same now that everything else floats in. All right, enough spookiness. Let's scroll down here. 100 stars from Raylene Scanes. Hey Z, I got my second shot yesterday. Booyah! Did you got symptoms, girl? Did you got the fevers and the aches and the headache and the insomnia that I had? Because that sucked for me. But I get man flu easy. Arlene M on YouTube. I was knocked out yesterday after my first Moderna jab. I dreaded the second one May 11th. I read in the news that there might be a third required in the fall. I don't know about required, Arlene. We just talked about that earlier. I don't know. They're just talking about, do we need a booster for variants? Personally, I don't see it yet, but I don't have all the data. But I don't know. It's going to get to a point where you're like, how much immunity is enough? If you're avoiding hospitalization and death. Now, remember, it doesn't work perfectly. So some people will get all 3 shots and still get sick, because that's the nature of all vaccines. No one's 100% perfect. So you expect to read about that in the news. You know, the failures, right? Dale Cessna on YouTube. Oh, yes, the sticker went straight on my Hydra flask. I don't even know what sticker we're talking about, but it sounds amazing. I forget even what my train of thought was. Craig Brockmiller, thanks for the 1,000 stars. And Marcia, thank you for your stars. Lydia Carlson says, Pfizer number 2 yesterday. Feel like hell today. Fever, muscle ache, swollen glands, headache. Lydia, I'm so sorry, dude. It sucks. I had to do an interview with Vinay Prasad while having those symptoms of Moderna number 2. And man, I was just looking at Vinay going, damn, dude. Like, I feel like shit. Ronald Vector Stokes, stars to burn and need an old school Z-Dog MD jacket planned for sale. Oh, so glad you pointed that out, RVS. All my old merch that Mrs. Dog and I had designed back in the day, like 3-4 years ago in Vegas, we thought, oh, we'll sell merch. So we did it ourselves. And she got tired of doing that shit for me really fast, which I get, because she's a radiologist. Like, why the hell is she selling merch and shipping it to people that have customer service issues? It's like, okay, no, that's not what we do. Forget it. So I've been sitting on like thousands of dollars worth of merch in my closet, moved it from Vegas to Belmont. And I'm thinking, oh, at some point, I'm going to, I'll auction it off to supporters or something. But that's just, honestly, I'm so lazy. That was such a pain in the ass. I was like, I don't want to do this anymore. It was fun the few times I did it, but I don't want to do it. And it feels shilly. I don't want to do it. So I boxed it all up into 2 huge 50-pound boxes from Home Depot that were like 2x2 huge boxes. Took it to UPS store and sent it to Risa Dubois, who runs our Supporter Tribe for Life merch store, who is the queen bee. And when she gets around to doing it, because it's a lot of work, we will put it up on the site, and you can buy an Eddie Bauer Z-Dog MD logoed fleece jacket. You can buy cool shirts. What else do we have? I think we have some hoodie shirts, a lot of different cool shit. So that's coming, and there's no more of those. Like, those are super limited edition. Like, they've all been manhandled by me personally, for better or for worse. So stay tuned for that. Risa is pretty amazing, Erica. Rose Alino, Risa is our rock star. Rose worked with Risa to get me this crazy Z-Cat Jedi dark side Sith thing. It's hanging in my bathroom. So every time I go to pee, I see Z-Cat with a lightsaber. It's crazy shit. You can't make this up. Sarah Chalk, my work the IV pole. Oh, is that the sticker you're talking about, Sarah Chalk? Oh, good. Okay, my work the IV pole sticker is hanging on my IV pole. There it is. We make stickers occasionally. Let's see where we at. Jorge Del Canto is watching from Chile on YouTube. What can you say about the Chinese vaccine? Thanks, you are great. So that's clearly a public YouTube comment. I can't say much except that it's not very effective, but it's also not ineffective. So it's probably a good compromise, especially if it's the only vaccine you can get, you know? And I don't know much more about it. I apologize because it hasn't had relevance here in the States, so I haven't been much educated on it. Let's see. So what else I want to tell you guys? By the way, how many people are watching? Oh, 282 on YouTube. Good. Okay, so the public facing part of the YouTube has probably been drawn back, which is good. That's right, Amy Pfaff. Vintage Z-Dog merch. It is old school. Christy G got the 5G shirt the other day. So great. Dude, that shirt was so viral. Risa and Liliana and everybody who helped design it, it was brilliant. It was genius. Angela Williams, Pfizer says we need a third shot now. Okay, now where is this coming from? I haven't seen this news. Are they really saying this? Let me pull up. Nah, I don't want to do that now. I'm sure they are saying it. Hang on. Let me look at my news feed, because often you guys are the first to tell me stuff because it's hot off the presses and I've been busy all day. Let me see. Judge warns of mistrial, blah, blah, blah. Latest research on vaccine side effects, immune reaction, thrombosis risk. Okay. Boba tea shortage explained. Why the bubble drinks facing tough times. That's my feed. Yeah, I don't see anything obvious here, but whatever. I'm sure I'll read about it and I'll rant about it soon enough. You guys can fill me in. Oh, it just came out, Nick? Okay. Are they saying they're going to offer it, or they're saying it needs to happen? Because those are different things. Pfizer exec announced that there probably will need to be a third shot, says Vicky. Okay, Doc Vicky. I'd like to dig into that data, talk to Paul Offit, see what people think about this before I comment. So there you have it. I mean, they're probably saying that because of better variant coverage. But I'd like to see what Pfizer's data is that says, now remember, it's in Pfizer's best interest to require another booster, don't you think? But I'm not going to assume that they're just motivated that way. But there's a low threshold, you know, to want another one. But maybe we need it. We'll see. Okay, Andrew Dunbar, why is there a boba shortage? Apparently it's a shipping container issue. So the shipping containers are like waiting at port and they're holding all the boba. That's what I read. And so the Bay Area is losing its mind because, I mean, if we don't have our bubble tea, we're going to have to cut a hoe. I mean, it's serious business. Diane Wench, from what I'm seeing from lots of folks, the pause with J&J has turned off many to even the RNA vaccine. So upsetting. I think it's the worst. You know what Jay Bhattacharya and I were talking about yesterday? It's the worst public health messaging on the planet. I said that about, AstraZeneca in Europe too. It's like, don't pause it. Tell people what's going on. Tell them the truth. Go, yeah, we found this signal. We don't fully know what it means, but it's very rare. We think it's associated with the vaccine. Here's the risks and benefits. We're not going to pause. We're not going to deny you the vaccine. You make a choice. You're a damn adult. Talk to your doctor. Here's the information. Here's what we think. Go see who you trust and ask them what they think and make your damn decision. We're not going to pause it because pausing it is going to cost lives. If the risk of the thing is like 1 in 100,000 or something, and the risk of dying of COVID in an elderly person that would have gotten the Johnson & Johnson vaccine is like, 10 in 100,000 or whatever it is, then you could kill someone for a risk that's much smaller. We just don't understand risk and messaging anymore. It's not that hard. Now, I'm sure there are some people who will say, and I have smart friends who've said, but continuing to give the vaccine is going to look really bad. So the optics of not pausing it are bad. And I'm like, but forget about optics. Be honest with the public and trust that they'll make the correct decision. If you look dishonest or you give the impression that something's worse than it is because you're doing something that's obviously a PR thing, like pausing the trial. It's like, well, what are we going to save lives by pausing the trial? No, on net, you're going to cost lives. On net, looking at the risk profiles. Yeah, you might cause a few blood clots, rare blood clots per a few million people, but you're going to save more lives from preventing COVID. Do you see? So it's a serious thing to pause a vaccination campaign. And good people can argue about this on both sides of this issue. All right. But I don't think it's good for any of this. And then see, this is why I fucking love public YouTube. Whatever leaves a comment, sheeples take vax. So you get the like full idiocy of public YouTube when you accidentally hit public instead of supporter. But that's the nature of the wide open internet. It's like trolling for delicious tuna. Every now and again, you're going to catch a completely mutant like Fukushima shrimp that's like sheeple. Marin McKee on Facebook. If politicians were honest, they wouldn't be politicians. Bingo. Yeah, you nailed it. Something happening on Facebook. Looks like there's a little glitchiness. Facebook sucks that way. You guys should why are you guys not all just on Locals? Like Locals is just better. Ask anyone on Locals. They'll tell you it's just better. It's better than Facebook. It's better than YouTube. There's no bullshit. There's no idiot trolls. People are nice to each other. They're smart. They disagree politely. The conversations are pretty deep. You post your own content and it costs as little as $5 a month, although you can support at any level. It's just better if you like what we do. If you don't, then you get Shrimpy McSheeple over here. Even the public Facebook feeds are such garbage. Like you read the comments and you're like, what is wrong with people? We're at end times. Never bothers me though. I get a kick out of it. Renee Ferrantino says, love all your videos, both educational and humorous. Thank you. Thank you, darling. Don Grassick just fears change. That's fair. You like Facebook, you stick with it, girl. Just stick with the supporter tribe. Rick Bodeker says, what's the Locals link? Just go to zdogmd.locals.com. That's it. And you can sign up as a free member and you get free content. Whatever I do that's free that isn't supporter shows, so you can get it on Locals. Or you can pay and then you become a member and get the super secret content like this was supposed to be, which it still is on Facebook, but apparently it leaked on YouTube because I pushed the wrong button, but I changed it back to unlisted. Where are we at? Yeah, so that's the link, guys. zdogmd.locals.com. A lot of people asking. Trolls lives matters. LOL, Angela Williams. They don't. That's why I disagree with all lives matter. No, some lives matter less. They really do. It's funny, like people get criticized for all lives matter because it's lessening the poignancy of the Black Lives Matter and the fact that this has been a group that's been singled out by police and others. And that's fine. I don't like all lives matters because I disagree that all lives matter. Some lives matter less. Trolls, carnies, their lives don't matter to me. Small hands smell like cabbage. And the Dutch. Fuck the Dutch. Two Austin Powers references in one sentence. Let's see. Robert Simpson says people would have something to say if they had not paused. I mean, that's the concern. It's like if you don't, but if you're public and say, hey, we're not pausing it, but here's the deal. Be as transparent as you can, I don't know. It's hard. You can't message to everyone at once. It's very hard. You just have to be honest. That's what I think. But what do I know? I'm just pathologically honest, which has got me into a lot of trouble. Cabbage. That's right, Beth Marie 44. Gold member, Cheeky Marie. That's right. I love gold. They do have nice tulip, Stingray. Dude, nice tulip bulb madness reference. Pam Briggs, what are the websites for Locals again? God damn you guys. I gave it twice. I'm going to give it a third time. ZDoggMD, 2 G's, .locals.com. Or just go to locals.com and search ZDoggMD. You'll find it that way too. Easier. Our case is going, hang on. Let's okay. Now let me see. What else do I want to tell you guys about? Because we haven't done a supporter thing in a while. Because I got real busy. This week's been busy, guys. Next week's gonna be even busier. Lots of guests. I'm sitting on an interview with Judd Brewer that I did yesterday. He's a psychiatrist. He's been on my show before. I love that guy so much. He wrote a book called Unwinding Anxiety that's out now. We talk about his strategies to dealing with anxiety, and they are pretty awake strategies, and they're non-pharmacological strategies. And all of us have anxiety during this pandemic. So I think it's really great. It was a great conversation. It's about 50 minutes. I'm going to put it out tomorrow. I might put it up on Locals early, just so you guys can get a little early release incentive for being on Locals. And I'll make it free. So if you're on Locals and you're somewhere else, you can still look at it on Locals. If you're on Facebook, you're a supporter there. Yeah, it's a good interview. I really enjoy Judd. He's very, very smart guy and funny too. Let's see. Where are we at? There are folks who are still afraid of the COVID vaccine, like my wifey, Mike Estes. It's normal to be afraid, man. I mean, this is a new thing, and you're not irrational. They aren't irrational fears. They're founded on how we're wired as humans, right? Something new. There's uncertainty. We don't understand the science. Maybe so there's plenty of reasons to be afraid. And now, on inspection, when you do know the data and you educate yourself, then that fear should dissipate because the data is quite good, right? Now, you also have to, if you're being a perfect Vulcan, right, and are stripping emotion and humanness out of it, you could look at the data and go, yes, according to my risk calculations, the risk of the vaccine is X and the risk of COVID is Y, therefore I will get the vaccine. I think for the vast majority of people, that risk calculation plays out favorably. The people that I think it doesn't play out favorably are very young kids yet, because it's all risk and no benefit for them. All risk meaning even if the risk is 0.00000000001, the risk of COVID is 0.0000000000000. So it's not quite that low, but you know what I'm saying, right? Risa Dubois is excited for the interview with Judd Brewer. Put it up right after this, pretty please. I will. I'm going to send it to Locals. And then so Facebook supporters can just go to ZDoggMD.com or ZDoggMD.locals.com and see it there for free. You don't have to sign up on Locals too as a paying member. So it'll be public on Locals, but Locals we have about 10,000 followers on Locals. And so it's a smaller tribe over there. Things are so crazy that we have UFO sightings and no one cares. Is that true, Nick M? Oh, I saw that pyramid-shaped UFO. Dude, I'm telling you, man, the truth is out there. I don't know what to think about UFOs, honestly. I don't have enough good data on whether they're a thing or not. But my mind is open to the possibility. 123 ABC says young women seem to have risk with adenovirus vaccine comparable to COVID. So they looked at this 123. They did calculations based on AstraZeneca, which has so what they determined in a British population is that if you're between 20 and 29, and they didn't specify woman or male, and your risk of an adverse complication from that vaccine in terms of clots is 1 in 100,000 based on AstraZeneca and that age group. The risk of being struck by lightning, by the way, is 1 in 500,000. So you're 5 times more likely to get a complication of that vaccine if you're a woman. Probably, I don't know if they looked at just women in that group, than you are to be struck by lightning. But that still, being struck by lightning is pretty damn rare. So even 5 times more likely is still unlikely. But your risk of COVID in that age group ranges. So, and of COVID, but when I say that, it means this. Your risk of being hospitalized at an ICU level with COVID, which means you have a 20% risk of having blood clots from COVID, because that's roughly the case incidence of COVID-related blood clots in hospitalized patients. Not to mention death of COVID. That risk is anywhere from 0.9 in 100,000, so roughly the same as the risk of getting the clot, to 6.8. And why the discrepancy? 6.8 in 100,000. Why the discrepancy? Because it depends on how much your COVID exposure risk is. If you're an essential worker, if you're exposed to a lot of COVID, your lower socioeconomic status, racial minority, all associated with higher COVID exposure risk, line cook in a restaurant, something like that, then it's going to be more on the closer to 7 in 100,000, in which case the math works out that it's, 6 times, 7 times more risky to get COVID, that you'll get COVID and be very sick, than get the clot and be very sick. So there you have it. And again, then you have to make a personal decision. Maybe you can stay safe until an mRNA vaccine is available. Maybe, who knows, right? But you have to make that decision. I'm still waiting for Novavax, man. Novavax, a purified protein adjuvanted vaccine, different approach entirely, very effective in the trials. Would love to see what's happening with that, because that's another option. It's a 2-dose deal, I believe. So it's not a single shot. What vaccine did I get, Derek Rogers? I got Moderna. Both vaccines were Moderna back in January. So that was what was available. I got whatever was available. Let's see. My cousin was struck by lightning and died. Risa Dubois. Holy crap, Risa. I'm sorry. What? 500,000. Man. Well, I mean, you got to think about it this way. In our Facebook tribe alone, there's 2.2 million people on actually, it's closer to 2.3 now. Million people on Facebook that follow us. It's weird because on YouTube, it's like 320,000. But on Facebook, it's 2.3 million. I still don't understand the discrepancy. I don't know. Maybe it's the age demographic thing. My audience is a little older, and YouTube's audience is a little younger. But all that is to say that in that big of an audience, 4 people will be struck by lightning and killed, right? Just statistically. So there you go. That's just science. Marianne Pie, or Maran Pie. Kids get COVID, doc, and they also get multisystem inflammatory syndrome. I know, but it's quite rare. So the number of children who've died of COVID is roughly the same as the number of children who die of influenza in a given year. But we do not keep children out of school for influenza. We do not lose our minds over influenza. We do not mask up over influenza. So that's the difference, right? The risk is the same for children, but and MISC is still quite unusual, and it can happen, but so can complications of flu that don't kill you, that I'm not including in this sort of thing. So we take these risks every day. You get in your car, you're much more likely to kill your child than with with COVID. So that's how we have to kind of think about it. So, how you parse your level of fear when it comes to our children, it's all emotion-based and fear-based. It's not statistics-based. But the statistics is really how we should be thinking about it. And the other thing, you probably already know this, but the children who tend to get very sick from COVID have the same risk factors often that cause adults to get very sick from COVID: obesity, chronic disease, etc. So there are often predisposing factors. It's more unusual for a healthy young child. That's not the case with influenza. Influenza can kill the healthy, the sick, the young, the old, across the spectrum. In fact, it predisposes to young and old, vulnerable people. What are your thoughts on immunizing children against COVID-19? What about Pfizer, Moderna trials, testing vaccines on those 6 months and older, says Thomas on YouTube. So I've talked about this before, and I talked about a little bit with Jay Bhattacharya yesterday. I'd refer you to that conversation because we talk about it in detail. But basically, look, the risk of the vaccine is negligible, but it's not zero. The risk of COVID in children is negligible, but it's not zero. But it's really quite low. So the vaccine has other effects, like it can knock your kid out of commission with, fever, muscle aches, those kind of things, the sort of side effects of the vaccine, and that are your immune system revving up. And the question is, do you want that for a very, very small benefit for that child? And they're also not agents of transmission. And look, people argue about this all the time. Oh, kids are spreading the disease. It's really not clear that they are, and Jay and I talked about this yesterday. It's really not clear that they spread this disease in any meaningful, significant way. And there's Swedish data. There's a lot of data supporting that assertion. I'm not pulling that out of my ass. It's not wishful thinking. So I'm not compelled by vaccinating, children like 12 and under for COVID. 12 to 18, well, they behave a little more like mini adults with regards to COVID at that age. Again, you get these clusters in colleges and things like that. Summer camp, those kind of things, it does happen. So it may be a community benefit to vaccinate those children because they're going to be less likely to shut down schools for positive tests and things like that, and have to quarantine a kid for 10 days or whatever they're doing now. So for that, it might be worth getting the shot. That's how I think about it. And it'd be a case by case. You got to think about your kid and their temperament and what their risk is. Oscar Mendoza, what content is discussed in this group and how often? I'm new here, and he sent 235 stars. Oscar, thank you for the stars. All kinds of shit, man. Sometimes we just have fun and do karaoke badly. Sometimes we talk about really deep philosophical stuff. Sometimes we talk about medical issues before I go live to the world with a public show, and I kind of work it out and read your comments and kind of feel it out. So that's kind of what we do. And we have fun and we support each other and people comment to each other. It's a tribe. It's a wonderful group, the supporter tribe. Carissa Davis from Locals says, I really like the Vinay article on the ethics of vaccinating kids in the U.S. before the high-risk population in other countries. Okay, so let's talk about that. That's another thing. We're going to give our kids vaccination that they don't necessarily need, and the rest of the world's dying. And don't forget, we're one world, so they're another pool of infection for us if you're being completely selfish, because we're all connected. So why the hell are we doing that? It just doesn't make a lot of sense. One thing Jay Bhattacharya told me off camera is that his motivation for like putting his career on the line and saying these very non-dogmatic things, like violating the dogma of public health on this stuff by trying to tell truth, is his motivation is he really, 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 his primary concern in life is poor people get screwed. And as a health economist, he tries to figure out how we can do cost-benefit analysis to help poor people. And he thinks that our pandemic response has been fundamentally poisonous to the poor. It's been discriminatory. And it's funny, he gets accused of being some right-wing ideologue. He's, first of all, right-wing, left-wing, it doesn't matter. You can still care about children and poor people, but he is one of the most sincere, compassionate, non-ideologically driven people that I've ever met. And you guys, if you talk to him for 5 minutes off camera like I have, you would be stunned by what a lovely, sincere, compassionate, humble, thoughtful guy he is, which comes through in the interview too. But in the interview, he's trying to get a point across. In person, he's just wonderful. Like, people who take a crap on him, you just don't know. You're mind reading in a way that you're just wrong, And that's the tragedy of social media. You don't get to know people the way you should. I mean, I've asked him to come back twice and Vinay as well. These are really good people. And believe me, I get blowback for having people like that on my show because they're so non-dogmatic. They're violating the dogma that, stay home, wear a mask, vaccinate your dog against COVID. It's like, well, what if there's dissenting ideas based on science? That's how science works. You have a dialectic, you go back and forth, you refine your theories, and you go. And then policy is just determining the intersection of science, understanding, and our values, right? So you're going to take a shit on Texas for opening up. You're going to take a shit on California for staying closed. What you're shitting on is not the science, because nobody knows what the fucking science is. Follow the science. What science? We still have really shitty science on masks, on how this thing spreads, on a lot of stuff with this pandemic, despite being a year into it. That's why it's miraculous we were able to get vaccines to work. So it's not just about follow the science. It's about follow your values. What do you care about? If you know the best science that's available, what do you care about? Texas cares about opening up and getting its economy. At least much of Texas does. Not everybody agrees, obviously. California apparently is a care versus harm. Now, there's a difference here that I'm going to point out. Texas and California both have a lot of poor people. Who suffers during lockdowns? Poor people. Preferentially. They still have to work. They still have to go in. They still get COVID. So they get none of the benefit of the lockdown, all the downside of economic collapse, being laid off, et cetera, and being forced to work in dangerous jobs like being a line cook so that someone else can Instacart a meal, a rich person, to their house. It's created more inequity, more wealth disparity, and that's going to lead to social unrest, which it already has. So congratulations, everybody. We did it. Make sense? All right. I think I got to go because I got to pick up some food for my family. I'm going to try to upload this. I'm going to process it right now, upload it to Locals so that Locals doesn't have to go through the YouTube link. Keep an eye out for Judd Brewer's thing. I'll upload that as well. That's it. Love you guys. Love you guys. Even you non-supporters on YouTube who snuck in. I love you too. You're awesome. Destiny would have it that you get to enjoy a supporter show if you enjoyed it. If you don't, leave a shitty comment like the sheeple one. All right, guys. I love you. Now watch this. I have to fade it because that's the only way I can get it to end without canceling Facebook too early. So let me see if I can do this. I'm going to hit this button. And let me go over here, enable preview, and I'm going to fade us out. All right, guys, until next time, we are out.